Hello, happy Tuesday, and welcome back to my living room. It's a beautiful day here in Chicago, and I'm excited about this week's tip. It's about how to get unstuck. Oh my God. I don't know really how many times in my life that I've said, I'm so stuck, help me, but probably like many, many thousands of times. And I'm guessing maybe that's true for you too. So let's talk about how to get unstuck. Let's say there's an action that you want to take or something that you want to figure out. Actually, a good example of this would be like maybe you want to get a new client. And this can be scary for a lot of health and wellness coaches and life coaches and personal development coaches. And it can be scary for a number of reasons, especially when you're first starting out. Holy scary. First, you're not really sure when you're first starting out if people are going to take you seriously in this new role of expert. Like maybe you had another life. I was an actress before I started coaching, and it's like, oh my God, did people even take me seriously as an actress? And now I'm saying I'm a coach and I'm going to help you with your health and wellness. Like, really? That's super scary. So you might feel like you really have to know everything under the sun about your niche to have people think that you know what you're doing. And that's a lot of pressure. Second thing that's really scary about getting a new client is that you have to ask people for money for your services. Yikes! Or third, if you haven't worked with a lot of clients yet, and when you're starting out, then you may not be totally sure your program actually works. So the idea of taking money for your services and then maybe it doesn't work, you're imagining like, people are going to think I'm a fraud, right? Oh my God, that's terrifying. So one thing that's really interesting to note if you're stuck about getting a new client, when I give those three examples, in all three of those examples, and I had these same thoughts myself when I first started out, by the way, I was imagining something bad will happen. Like I was imagining a future event, and I imagined something bad would occur as a result. Fascinating. Now, a mentor of mine, because I was working on like with this coaching mentor, I have a lot of anxiety, and he said, well, interesting, anxiety is imagining a future event and imagining something bad happening. And I was like, oh, that is true. Oh my God. And so I thought back to a time in my life when I really felt stuck. And a significant experience around that. I remember right when I was graduating from my health coaching school in 2006, I was in O'Hare Airport, and I ran into an old friend, Judy Greer. She's an actress. And I went to college with her. I went to theater school with her. But I hadn't talked to her in about 10 years. We hadn't been in touch. She had her sort of life going in Los Angeles. I was working in Chicago. And I ran into her at the airport, and she's like, oh my gosh, how are you? How are you doing? And I was like, I'm good, and I'm kind of intimidated because you're like a movie star now. And I'm not sure how to talk to you. But when I told her what I was doing, I'm like, oh, I just graduated from this health coaching school. I'm so excited. I'm a health coach. And she was like, oh my God, I want to hire you. And I completely freaked out. Like, not in front of her. I was like, really? That's so exciting. But inside, I was freaking. I started to imagine like all sorts of horrible things happening, like her managers calling me and screaming at me that I made her fat or something. I mean, like her job, her success hinges on the way she looks. She has to look good. And she was starting a new TV series that fall that she was like the main actress on, and I was freaking out, and I was like, I don't know if I know enough to help her. And I was imagining, as I was imagining working with her, I was imagining looking like an idiot in front of this famous celebrity person and basically like ruining the career I was just starting. Okay, so clearly I was Stacy's husband, Gregory, calls it disaster baiting. I was fully disaster baiting about how horribly this whole situation was going to turn out. And for days after I had seen her at the airport and she had said, I want to work with you, I was stuck. I did not email her. I did not follow through. I did not call her. I felt like I just could not take the risk of all of those horrible disasters occurring. And yet, there was a part of me that was like, not working with her would be a pretty bad decision. Like, you really should go forward and do this. Somehow, and I'm going to share with you how in a moment, I figured out a way to get unstuck in that situation and say yes to being her health coach. And I don't think any better things could have happened. It turned out she loved our work so much that she got this idea to create a web series around being healthy called Reluctantly Healthy. She doesn't necessarily love being healthy, but she has to for work, and it's hilarious, a hilarious title. Yahoo bought it a couple of years ago, and she asked me to be a guest health coach expert. I think I've been on about 22 episodes over I think 5 seasons, and some episodes have gotten over 1 million views, and the show got so much attention that it's going to be on the CW network, on television in the fall. What? Interestingly, when I was disasterating, I never imagined any of those good things happening. I was only imagining horrible things happening. So for this week's checklist, I want you to take a look at a place in your business where you're feeling stuck. And I want you to take these steps. So this is in the checklist below the video, is how to get unstuck. So you want to imagine taking the action or figuring out the thing that's keeping you stuck. Maybe it's not you're afraid to do something like I was. Maybe you actually just don't know how to do something. Well, let's just imagine that you've figured it out for the sake of this checklist. So you want to ask yourself, as I imagine taking this action, as I imagine knowing the answer I need to know and then doing the thing that I want to do, am I imagining something bad happening? If so, ask yourself, how do I know that something bad will happen? And that's what I asked myself with Judy. It was sort of like, how do I know it's going to be a disaster? Is it possible? Then ask yourself the next question, is it possible that something good might happen? And then ask yourself, if something good does happen, where and how might I need help or support? So with Judy, she was one of my first clients, and I was like, well, shoot. What if she asks me something I don't know the answer to? What if something comes up and I don't know how to handle it? Okay, well, what I need to do then is have someone in place that I can call and ask. So I asked a colleague of mine from my health coaching school, is it okay if I call you if I have questions with this person? Can we talk about it? Now, if I had really been smart, I would have just hired Stacy at the time to be my business coach, but I wasn't that smart. I was a little stubborn. So I ended up setting up though, and basically a check-in partner with a colleague of mine. So that worked out well. So for you, you want to figure out, do I need more coaching skills? Do I need help with my business? Do I need an accountability buddy? Do I need support from a friend who's not even in this industry? What is it that you're going to need? Assuming something good happens, what might you need help with? What might you need support with? Then you want to ask yourself the question, because we are so notoriously bad about letting ourselves actually have support. We're very gung-ho about supporting other people, but when it comes to supporting ourselves, sometimes it's a little tougher. So you might want to ask yourself, how can I make getting that support inevitable? Because it's very tempting when you're in a new situation. If you're stuck on something and you're scared to take a new step, and then you do take a new step, it's so tempting to just feel like you should just muscle through it and expect yourself to figure everything out. But that's so much harder than just getting support. Just anyone, whether you invest in a mentor or a training program or whatever, you just have a friend that you can call, get support, make it inevitable. Tell your friend or colleague, look, I'm in this new situation, it's scaring the out of me, and I suspect that I'm not going to want to call you for support. So would you send me an email every day to just check in with me? They would be happy to do it. People love, especially as coaches, we love to give, right? So asking someone to do that for you is going to be really helpful. Okay, the next step is to check your chunk size. And that sounds super gross. So let me explain. I didn't realize that when I was writing notes for this. I was like, oh, chunk size, that's gross. So what you want to do is look at, am I trying to complete everything all at once? Am I thinking that I have to have everything in this particular action step completely figured out? Because if you are thinking that, that is a great strategy for freaking out and getting stuck. It's not a great strategy for getting unstuck. So what I had to think about for Judy was I didn't know if I had like every program material that I needed to have for her. But I just had to go, well, that's not going to happen. And that's okay. So you want to check and see, like, do you have an unreasonable expectation that you should have everything figured out like now? In a new situation, that's just not really possible. There are going to be variables. There are going to be unknowns and uncertainties. So if you have that reasonable expectation, you want to ask yourself, well, what's a more reasonable expectation? What's a smaller chunk size? So in my situation, I just thought to myself, well, before every session, I'm going to go through, review the notes from the last session, prepare whatever stuff I feel like I need for the next session, even if it takes me a little more time than I may want to spend on that. I'm going to spend that time so that I can walk in the door feeling prepared as I can be. And then I'm going to be comfortable knowing that something will probably come up that I didn't anticipate. And once I feel like that's a reasonable expectation, I can get behind that, then I could relax and move forward. Here's the next step on the checklist, and this is a killer, and one that I actually didn't know at the time and wish I had, but I want to share with you now. You want to ask yourself, if I achieve X, or if I take X step, or if I get a new client, if I work with so-and-so, if I do a talk, if I'm on television, if I write an article in a magazine, if I do that, who might be upset, unsettled, or disempowered? Very interesting question. It's kind of a kaboom question from the transformational coaching method because it's designed to uncover how our stuckness, our feeling of being stuck, is protecting our three basic human needs: love, safety, and belonging. So feeling stuck is not happening because you're not smart or because you're not capable of figuring things out. Feeling stuck is happening because your critter brain is going, crap, some change is about to go down, and I am not sure about that. I want to make sure that I have love, safety, and belonging intact so that I know I'm going to survive. So for example, I remember a holistic MBA client was stuck around building her business, so in a particular program with Stacy and I. And when we dug deeper, we discovered that what she was really worried about was her spouse wanted her to have another baby, and she wanted to build her business, and she felt stuck about that. And she didn't know how was she going to fulfill her own desires and make her husband happy, and if she fulfilled her own desires, was she risking her marriage? That's a very good reason to be stuck and worth discussing and worth exploring, right? And so we had to help her with that. So I'm curious for you, if you achieve X, Y, or Z in your business, who might be upset, unsettled, or disempowered? How are we trying to potentially protect someone else and protect ourselves? This is a fantastic, fantastic question to kind of get underneath the pattern of feeling stuck. So now leave a comment below and let me know where you're feeling stuck and what things that might be helpful in this checklist that will help you get unstuck. And if you like this conversation about digging deeper underneath what's causing feeling stuck, or transformational coaching, or asking particular kinds of powerful coaching questions, because of course when your clients come to you and they say, I'm stuck, they're having all of these problems. You can ask them, so what chances are your client's imagining something bad's happening? And then you can ask your client on the checklist, how do you know something bad will happen? Is it possible something good might happen? If something good does happen, where and how might you need help and support? Awesome coaching question sequence right there for your client. How can you make getting support inevitable? Checking your client's chunk size. You know what I mean. It's not as gross as it sounds. Maybe it is. I don't know. But you want to check your client's chunk size and understand, is your client having a totally unreasonable expectation for herself? And what might a more reasonable expectation be? Also, you can ask your client the question, if you achieve X, who might be upset, unsettled, or disempowered? Now, your client may or may not have an answer to that question. Maybe consciously she doesn't know, but chances are there's someone in her world, in transformational coaching we call this ecology, that may or may not be okay, or she is worried may or may not be okay if she takes whatever action it is that she wants to take. So this tip this week in the checklist is for you, certainly, but also something you can turn around and use with your clients. And if you dig it, Let me know in the comments. Guys, I'll see you next week. This was a fun one.